Ed Jones, we are live. How are you today?
I'm doing great, Clint.
All right, so I've got a couple topics. We try to talk every 2 to 3 weeks. I've got a couple topics that I want to make sure we cover today. So if you're just watching this, or if you're watching this down the road, we're going to cover gut health. It's a podcast you just did at the holisticnavigator.com. And then I want to go bullet point by bullet point. We're not going to spend a lot of time, but through the immunity toolkit that you have at Nutrition World. And here's why. We should always be talking about that, of course, but we may or may not be going back to school. We'll see how that goes. But we're going into the fall season in the next, 30 to 60 days. People are going to be back indoors. I think these products are going to be in the higher demand than they've ever been. What is your thoughts on that, sir? Don't you see it going that way too?
Well, honestly, in 41 years of helping, watching, and assisting people with their conversation of nutrition and health, I've never seen a time in 4 decades where people were more tuned in, I guess I would say, and more connected to the fact that we can't take this for granted, our bodies. And many Americans have taken their bodies for granted. I've done it at certain points of my life also. But we're not an F 150 truck that you can just drive into the ground and then go get it fixed. And this immune system weakness that we are basically epidemic in this country is not even, it's a risk for what we're experiencing now as far as being hospitalized. If your immune system's dysfunctional, that's where the problems come in with any respiratory virus infection. When it's healthy and the terrain is sound, you generally feel crappy for 5 or 6 days and then you're perfectly fine. And that still applies to the majority of people who are getting this respiratory virus. However, we do know that there's a group who are suffering terribly and also people who are passing away. Now, what I always want to say is, we need to come to terms with some common sense with these numbers. One is that we know that in Tennessee, 38.5% of all deaths are from nursing home deaths. Doesn't minimize the pain and sorrow and loss of nursing home patients, but that's not putting a significant risk on school children, on workers, on people who are out and about. Those people are more secluded. That's why it is a protective environment. So we have to come to terms with the inaccuracy of these numbers. Hamilton County is bringing people in from other counties, but yet it's making us look like it's all us. No, it's inaccurate information. But as far as the immune system, hey, we either do something about it or you're going to be like the F 150 truck with a flat tire. You're just going to roll down the road and it ain't going to be very pleasant.
Well, we've talked about this in the past. Even, and you try to look for silver linings to this stuff. One of the good things that's happening now is we are talking more about what we put into our bodies as far as food. We are talking about getting outside more and being active, which is conversations that a lot of folks like you have been having for decades, that a lot of us now are being reminded of, we should be having those conversations. But also, this won't be the last time. Once we put a little ribbon on the COVID virus, if we ever do, we get a vaccine and we learn to live with what it is, there'll be another something that comes along. So getting in the habit of taking care of yourself is something that will benefit you beyond just the immune system as far as COVID. It also affects your mindset. It affects everything.
Well, the average Tennessean's on 17 prescription drugs per year. That's basically insane. There's no way the human body can function in a healthy manner with that many synthetic pharmaceuticals. The problem is conventional medicine only has as their toolkit, because of training, this type of option. It isn't the people who, the docs and the nurses and the practitioners, it's not their fault. It's
Right.
all taught, and legally there's a system that protects them with the 17 drugs prescribed. But if they prescribe a nutrient, it gets outside their limit of protection for insurance. So I can't blame them. But it is time to embrace a personalized journey to optimal health. No one's going to do it for us. There's no one who's going to rescue each of us as we start down that slippery slope of health. What's going to happen is they're actually going to grab us, because there's a thing on your forehead called a dollar sign if you have insurance. And it causes corruption in your treatment, because the more you get treated, the more money they make. It's the only industry that can profit despite showing no results and actually showing harm. The third cause of death in this country is medical errors. So, that is significant and it's risky. Do I want to be in a world without it? No, I don't. But we now have to take personal responsibility for our own immune system. And you're right, it's not just about this virus, it's about all the other ones, and the colds and the dementia and the anxiety, all this that comes with, trying to balance your body with the right nutrition. And you can't do this without, sometimes you can do it without help, but you really need to find your sources of valid information, maybe coaches who can help you, or whatever you believe in. I'm a huge fan of Dr. Mercola, MERCOLA.com, Mercola.com. He's a physician. I love his information. I get it every day emailed, and I learn something every single day from him.
Two things before we move forward. One, and I know you always say this, but you have a great relationship with a lot of doctors. So you're not a doctor. You're not trying to cure anybody. You're not trying to make predictions or give any health advice as far as their ailments. But the doctors and nurses, and you said this best, it's not them. They are not the problem. It's a system. And so they're good hearts. They try, and a lot of them, and they have a purpose. They're a great purpose. I mean, they keep a lot of people healthy and help them recover. So I just wanted to make sure that everybody knew the relationship you have with like Dr. Green and physicians is a really good relationship, because they'll now are starting to call you with some questions.
Well, and thank you for that. And yes, no time do we ever, we want to always be legal, and we don't treat medical conditions. We want to help to treat poor health. That's a different thing. And yes, I have 50 or 100 physicians who actually shop here, respect us, value our information. Gone is the days where all of people like me were classified as woo-woo people and not regulated and not safe. No, it's not anymore. There are stores that are basically will sell anything that the public wants, and they don't have information. But any industry is going to be riddled with those kind of people. That's why we search out the good people. I don't care if it's a restaurant or I'm buying a camera or whatever. I want the people who can tell me the right advice. Well, we are the ones who I feel I'm very confident my staff has the skill level to do that in a legal way. I did just announce on WRCB TV on an interview that we are giving away free vitamin D to all healthcare workers in Chattanooga with a proper ID.
Wow.
Did I do this? One is Britain and Scotland have now announced, because of the massive amount of research that verifies that if we have less than 29 nanograms of vitamin D, 96% of all people with the respiratory virus who are in severe shape, that's where they fell, was low vitamin D. When you get above 50 nanograms of vitamin D, only 4% of the people ever fell into the severe range. This is not rocket science, people. We're willing to give it away free. Everyone needs it, but healthcare workers, I think, need it even more. You're not getting this advice from your normal physician. When Scotland and Britain, every single healthcare worker gets a bottle of this free, why don't we embrace this stuff? It won't hurt anybody if it's reasonably taken. It's cheap. Dr. McCullough says we can flatten this total curve in 4 solid weeks if we could administer vitamin D at approximately 5,000 units probably to everyone, which won't happen because that keeps the lungs from overreacting, and that's the biggest issue. It won't keep you from getting sick, people, let me tell you. It's going to keep you from falling into a severe range. You're going to be a lousy week.
I want to do this because you've said a bunch of stuff, and you don't have to respond to this one, but you said, you have moved past where everybody was put in under an umbrella of you'll sell anything to anybody or not. You've done this for 40 years. You've done this for a long time. And so you have tons of respect. But I remember being your ad rep in the late 90s and early 2000s when you brought something called Penta water. Do you remember that? And everybody that I talked to about it was like, what the hell is Penta water? What is this? It's water. It's extra water. Is it bubbly water? And everybody that I drank it, I loved it and it worked. And now look at now 20 years later, you are way before your time here in Chattanooga, because now everybody's got this oxygenated water or some sort of, super steroided water as far as its productivity. I just remember that every time somebody goes, well, I don't know if Ed's right about everything. I said, look, 20 years ago, he was talking about what people now buy at the grocery store.
Well, I wish I had a batted 1,000 on all those ideas, but I do feel I batted about 700. So some of those went to the wayside.
Yeah.
But hell, if you don't taste it, you don't know what it's ever going to be like. So I'm willing to take the risk, and I personally do it myself generally before I actually ever recommend it. I find that Penta will stop a hangover like nothing else. So if there's a little bit too much tequila, you can drink Penta before and after, and you will not have a hangover.
Note to self, I'm just telling y'all, before this man in front of you passes away in the next 50 years, he will have his own brand of tequila. So, so let's do this because you broke up a little bit. Let's do this. You'd mentioned vitamin D. I'm about to go through this list of your immunity toolkit. But before I forget, tell people that may not know what their levels are. You guys do blood testing.
And as Dr. McCullough says, the only way to really know how much to take is to do blood testing. I've seen more blood tests than probably any physician in this town. There are people who don't need any D. Well, I don't know why. They're not really baking in the sun, but maybe 10%. They're just genetically gifted. They got plenty of D floating around. Dark skinned people don't. That's one reason why the darker skinned communities of the world, not just this nation, have 2 to 3 times higher risk of respiratory failure during this viral infection. The biggest part, the D is so low. And so blood testing is the only way. We do it on the last Friday of every month of Nutrition World. You just walk in at 8 o'clock to 10 o'clock, 8 a.m. to 10 a.m., and just order whatever blood test you want. But D would be the most important one that at this point, I feel. And it's reasonably priced. You get the results in 5 days, and you know more about what to do.
So that's next Friday.
Yeah, next Friday, a week
Next
from.
Friday.
I mean, I have to take 14,000 units a day to be at my optimal. And very few people eat as well as I do. I am in the sun, I have a tan, and I still need 14,000 units. So that's kind of crazy.
Yeah. All right, let's do this. Now, we've talked a little bit about vitamin D, but let's just jump straight in. I want to, before we talk about the gut health, we don't have to spend a lot of time. So this is kind of like a quick fire. Why does it help? Vitamin D in the immunity toolkit, because you can buy this at Nutrition World. Why does vitamin D help?
Well, and also say you can buy vitamin D anywhere and it's going to be decent quality. I don't see any worthless vitamin D. So if you can't get here, just
Good.
get it. But the actually vitamin D is not really a vitamin; it's a hormone, and it's a regulator of genetic expressions within the human body. And what that means, when you boil it down, is something that's going to be overreactive or underreactive. It's going to be like a thermostat that's going to set it at 72 degrees instead of it being at 110 or at 20. And with infections, with aging, with lifestyles, we get these internal thermostats just cranking the wrong ways. Well, D sends a signal to get it more midline. Equilibrium would be a word for that. And so that's the problem with the lung and these viruses is the lung doesn't have the thermostat correct. So it overreacts and literally fluid builds in the lung because the immune system is going full steam ahead and it doesn't know how to stop. D is sending a message to balance the body, balance it, and that's the key to long-term health is balance. So I hugely know we have to have this, and
Okay.
75% of the people are extremely deficient. I am going to do another video next week on testosterone in men. One of the major reasons testosterone is lower in American men by far than it used to be is because D is low. Now, there's other reasons too, and I'm going to discuss that. But D alone, I've seen raise testosterone in men by a decent amount. Decent amount.
Vitamin C.
C is still the key to how the immune system has power to attack pathogens. There's only 3 creatures on Earth that are warm-blooded that do not produce their own vitamin C: a tiny little monkey, a tiny guinea pig, and us. All other animals, if they get sick, guess what their body does? It takes glucose, which is sugar, and it converts it directly to ascorbic acid, which is C. A dog will produce the equivalent of 10 to 15,000 milligrams of vitamin C if he's got a cold. He'll only produce 500 if he's well. We can't do that, people. Dr. Linus Pauling, Nobel Prize winner, lived to be about 94 years old. He took 10,000 milligrams a day. I'm not a proponent of that, but I think everyone needs 1,000 milligrams twice a day. It's water soluble. You have to do it twice a day. It just makes you like a younger person with your immune response.
Let's stay in the vitamin world, but you do believe in a good, solid, tested multivitamin, depending on where that's relevant for where you're at in your age. Is that correct? And you're not talking about that hated brand. We won't even mention their name.
I will not mention Centrum ever.
We don't talk about Centrum. We don't talk about Centrum.
So, yes, if you look at nutrition like an orchestra, which is the way nutrition works, you have to have all these instruments playing in tune for you to have beautiful music. Well, the same applies to your health. You want optimal health, beautiful health. We got to have all these systems in regular tune up stage. Well, that is critical for health in every single way. So, everything from the microbiome to the foods you eat to the sleep you do, everything's tuning this up.
Well, the reason I'm bringing up the multivitamin is because if you're on and I'm not saying it will ever substitute. I think you should get blood work at your nutrition world, but we do a lot of times, and I fall into this category. We do walk in and take a vitamin off the shelf, thinking to ourselves, "What's better than nothing?" And it may be better than nothing, but there is a place, and I know you say this all the time. You're not the only place that has great product, but you could go to some place like Nutrition World, and there's tested vitamins there that are cost comparatively the same and actually been tested and proven a little better.
We have such a high standard here. We will not sell things to sell them. We have to have quality proved to us before we ever even stock it. And a multivitamin is like tuning up the orchestra. You don't want to line up 23 bottles in the morning. So a good multivitamin, which I do, Life Extension brand, 2 pills a day, it will supply you with about 50 ingredients that are all for this orchestra. So yes, a great multivitamin, great omega-3, a great green drink, and vitamin D and probiotics. Those are the biggest things that people have to have to create a healthy soil.
Okay, we're staying on the immunity toolkit, and I'm going to get to your green drink. That's going to be the last thing we talk about. But mushrooms, a lot of times people don't know that inside this toolkit, if you're going into the fall season, mushrooms is something to consider. Tell everybody briefly why, and is there a brand you like better than another one?
Mushrooms are one of the most miraculous foods that has ever been found on this earth. The general public and the medical community are literally clueless about the true powerhouse of health that is sitting in the ground. That if we just foster it, process it right, internalize it, it can turn us into a type of health that is unimaginable today. Mushrooms can literally be planted on an oil field that's been dumped with old motor oil. It will take that oil, convert it into food for the mushroom, and then purify the soil, and is never harmed by it. Mushrooms have basically no diseases because they've got immune systems that conquered everything. Well, we're not talking about the salad bar mushrooms. We're talking about the shaga and those other fancy big words, the shaga and Host Defense. I know the gentleman, Paul Staines, who has produced that company. Unbelievable quality because it takes a skill level to grow a mushroom and keep the ingredients intact into a pill. I take mushrooms almost every day. I take about 2 or 3 a day for prevention. I take 6 a day if I'm feeling under the weather. It's going to super stimulate the immune system. Every person who's ever come in here, mainly from doctor referrals who have low white blood counts, the mushrooms make the immune system boost. And so they're very happy because the next week they go get blood and the white blood count has gone back to normal.
Wow.
Cool stuff.
All right. So I'm coming to get mushroom. And what's the brand you said something? What's the brand?
Defense, and it's called Comprehensive Mushroom Formula. Comprehensive. That one makes about 12 of the most powerful mushrooms on earth.
All right, I'm writing it down. All right. The last 2 things, and we're going to talk about your podcast. We're going to do quick fire. This is your immunity toolkit in Nutrition World. I did not know this, but melatonin is a good thing to add to that before you go to bed tonight. And I think it said in your podcast between 3 and 10. Is it milligrams, or what are the units?
I actually say 1 to 10 because it's based on your purpose. If you're trying to get better sleep, it's not a sleeping pill, but it's helping to reset the sleep clock. You play with the 1 to 3 you do too much, you can have active dreams, and sometimes actually keep you from sleeping because you're dreaming in too vivid of a movie. But to regulate the immune system, probably melatonin has some of the biggest amount of research that is available right now to prevent the overexpression of the immune system, which is what we want if we get sick. I do very well with about 2 to 4 milligrams of melatonin. I've got an employee who takes 30 milligrams every night. I don't know how he does it. But if I get sickly, I'm going to take 10 milligrams, regardless of what it does to me, because it's going to make the immune system do exactly what it needs to do.
Okay, so sometimes there's a little delay when you and I talk, and it's not bad. I'm just letting you know. The reason I'm saying that is we've got two questions that I need to ask you from people watching the video. One is, can you restate the name brand of that mushroom product you were talking about?
Yeah, the mushroom is made by a company called Host Defense, and that's the company. But the one I take myself is called Comprehensive Mushroom Formula, because that's the one that contains all of the mushrooms in one single box.
Second question is, someone asked, let me get this right. Is there a good mushroom for kids?
Absolutely. Mushrooms are so safe. If the child is 4 years old and above, there's absolutely no issue. It comes in liquid. It does not taste great, so you'd have to do what you can do to make that work. Do not fall for the gimmicky, good tasting mushroom products. Most mushrooms are worthless in the field that I'm in. Because it's so easy to destroy the active ingredients with the wrong growing or processing. There are good companies, but most are not. But liquids are fine. You can do it that way.
Okay, and I'm sure if they come in or just call you guys and your staff could direct them to a good one for the children, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'll keep checking back on the comments if anybody has any other questions. Real quick, something I do, and then we're going to talk about your gut health, and then we're not going to have a full podcast on it. I just want to tease enough to send people to your podcast. But a green drink, because here's the honest, and I think the green drink ties in. And other than the green drink, before we move into it, because I'm going to use the green drink to move into the gut health conversation. Is there anything else I'm missing off that toolkit that you
Well, the toolkit can be pretty large if you really want to embrace every single thing for the immune system. The basic ones, like Dr. Thorne, I interviewed him on the Holistic Navigator, and he basically said, let's do the alphabet: vitamin A, B, C, D, and then two others, NAC and quercetin. That was his go to, which all of those have a different purpose. They're different players in this field. But if somebody walks in and says, I really want everything in this toolkit, so no matter what I go through, I want to make sure this body is optimal, those are the ones that have all the purposes. NAC and quercetin are things that most people don't know about, but I study it constantly, and they're very valid, very safe. In fact, I've lost count of the amount of physicians who've actually done the ABCD and quercetin NAC protocol for themselves.
So the things we've talked about, though, if somebody were to walk in, these are essentials that we've talked about, plus some extras if they want for the immunity toolkit.
They are.
All right, let's talk about the green drink. I take it every day. You hook me up with this as far as you've been talking about it for a long time. I've been taking it now for about 4 months. I love it. And it's got something in there called probiotics, which I think helps me with my gut health. Okay.
But so does the green stuff, because actually probiotics, and here's the big untold story of this: probiotics really don't do much for people unless they feed the probiotic. And I say this, and I kind of thought of this some time ago. If I come over to your house and I brought some grass seed and I throw it on your carpet and put a little water on it, they're going to grow. You're going to have some sprouted grass seeds, but how long will they live? They won't live very long. Same with probiotics. If you don't feed them with phytochemicals, which are what's in green drinks, and fiber, those two things are what feed a probiotic. That's why the one you're drinking, Green Vibrance, is so good, because it actually has food for the probiotic, so it keeps it going alive. Why do we want that? The 70% of the immune system is regulated by the microbiome, which is the gut bacteria that resides from here down to here. And Americans are pathetically out of balance with that. In fact, theholisticnavigator.com, I interviewed one of the leaders in a gut test called Longevity. I did this gut test myself, and we've actually just posted. My stool analysis is now public.
Wait, hold on a second. I got to be honest with you. When I was 18, there was a lot of things I thought I'd be talking about. Ed Jones stool sample is not one of them. Now continue on, sir.
Yeah. I'm an open book on so many areas, and this is another one. There's no pictures now, so don't worry. But it's if you go to nutritionw.com and type in gut, GUT, you can read the article, and there is a posting of all of my microbiome. Everything that they tested for is incredible test, and I highly recommend it. We make nothing on it, so if you click on the longevity button and you want to do it, it doesn't help us, but it helps you. But it is so important. It was the best stool test I've had out of 12 stool tests, and it's because I worked so hard to build that microbiome. Actually, I'll be honest with people. I've had 12 stool tests. 10 of the 12 I was not at all happy with. I had to keep working harder and harder and harder to get these things to stay and to implant and to grow and to do the right things. And finally, I did through the right stuff, the green drinks and the right probiotic and the right fiber to feed it.
Do you take, I'm sorry, when I apologize, you broke up when I started talking, but do you take probiotics in addition to the green drink? Because I know the green drink has some in there too.
I go off and on with it. I truly believe that if we can implant the right probiotics and you then feed them, you don't have to keep adding them. I mean, it makes sense when we look at the bowel studies and stool tests of people who still live in the native cultures of Africa, who are still in the jungle, basically. They have so much more microbiome and so better balanced microbiome than any Americans do. They don't have to go to a health food store. They don't have to buy things and drink it. They do it because they're eating natural foods from the natural world. So I'm trying to recreate that in myself by the use of supplements and my food choices. So I don't think you always have to do it, but why not? If you got a budget for it, just keep doing it. Keep planting those seeds.
I suggest, because you said that most of our immune system comes from our gut. I suggest everybody goes to the Holistic Navigator, listen to that most recent podcast you did about microbiome, about your gut health. That's where you'll find a lot of information, a lot of how to take care of this thing that's in us that we don't realize affects our attitude, our brain, our clarity, and our health. I don't think we all realize that. I don't think we realize
Well,
that.
anyone who gets a stomach bug or food poisoning, almost everyone knows that you have anxiety, and it's not just because you're fearing throwing up. There's actually it's like this internalized car crash inside of anxiousness or fear or worry or something big time has changed up here.
Mm-hmm.
Why? The brain's not infected with the food that's poison or the bug. It's down here that because this is what's ruling basically what's going on up here. So we have to take care of this thing. It's not a piece of plumbing. It is and it creates brain chemicals all day long and all night.
All right, here we go. Before we sign off on here, I got another question, and I hope I get this right. So, I take extra. I take a little bit of extra virgin olive oil every morning. I just kind of because it doesn't taste bad to me at all. I don't mind it. But I got a question, and so it said, ask Ed what he thinks about Gundry MD olive oil. Have you heard of that?
Yeah, Dr. Gundry, he's written a lot about certain things health wise. I don't totally agree with him on some, but on some I do. I am a huge fan of olive oil every single day. I just came from Jason's Deli right before I walked in and turned you on, and they have one of the best high quality olive oils for this lettuce and salad of anywhere in town, and I get all I want for nothing. So you have to be very skeptical of olive oil. Most places dilute it with canola because they don't know, and that's terrible. Canola is awful for you. But olive oil does not give you omega-3, but what it does give you is less inflammation, better brain health, improved digestion or elimination. It has so many multiple positive effects on our body. You need to have a lot of healthy fats every day, and the list is kind of small. Uh, Olive oil is like 1, avocados is 2, organic butter is 3, MCT oil, coconut oil. Those are the big ones. But I love the fact you do that every day.
And you have a because I buy mine from the store. It's extra virgin olive oil, so it seems to me I might should start buying that at Nutrition World because it's probably been vetted a little better, the process.
Honest with you, Aldi's has a great organic extra virgin olive oil for a very good bargain price. Now, our olive oil, most of it from the place downtown, the local vendor who is his whole life's about olive oil. So if you're a true connoisseur of olive oil, as I am, once you get the really, really fine stuff, you can tell by taste that the others are a grade down. But that doesn't mean they're bad. But you be cautious about who you buy it from.
So let's finish and answer that question though. The Grundy MD olive oil, is that something that you think he's okay with, or is that something that you just don't know a lot about?
It's perfectly okay with.
Okay.
They're putting a spin on olive oil, trying to make it one different little thing. But any good olive oil is going to be better for health. Any of them.
All right, so Ed Jones has the holisticnavigator.com. He has vitalhealthradio.com that he hosts every Sunday morning at 9 o'clock with Dr. Green. And then he also is the owner of Nutrition World or nutritionw.com. That's where he also has his content. You can be part of his membership there. He has all kinds of things. Go to nutritionw.com. You can find out about all of this stuff. And I'll just say this, Ed, when you get tired of really caring about your health a lot and you just want to let it go, I think me and you can make a lot of money starting a tequila brand and a donut farm.
Oh yeah, the donut sure tequila's mine. So that
yeah,
they don't sound good to eat or drink together, but
no, you start your day off with a donut, you ended up with tequila, and you're miserable in between. All right, thank you, Ed Jones.
Thank you, Clint.
All right, see y'all, everybody. We'll talk to you next time. Bye.